And so I have been getting a cajillion messages asking me about the Scott Herman situation, and in particular his analysis of Schoenfeld's post.
Is Brad Schoenfeld, PhD. I'm pretty sure I pronounced his name correctly.
I can't say names well too.
I looked at Brad's entire profile. Dude has a PhD. Super smart. He's very articulate. He has a lot of really great advice.
So Scott says he does have a lot of great advice on this page. That's very good.
But this one thing was sent to me.
Whoever sent this post to Scott Herman, go sit in the naughty corner.
And I really rubbed me the wrong way.
And I am refraining from making any rub me the wrong way jokes. Moving on. I do not think Scott Herman is being purposefully misleading, and I don't think he's being devious. I just think he doesn't understand what Brad is saying.
Break the cycle, Morty. Rise above. Focus on science.
And so Scott did reflect on his statements in the next episode of Insta Garbage, and essentially he said that he appreciated Brad's overall work, that people in his community were telling him he misunderstood Brad's post. They are correct, and indeed he did. That the post was open to interpretation. No, sadly, he still misunderstands it, and that there are still must-do exercises. So to be clear, Scott is still maintaining there are must-do exercises for muscle growth, and that he still disagrees with Dr. Schoenfeld's post on this issue. And so I am going to correct Scott's information with the purpose of helping people to understand a very important concept within physical fitness. And so I think it's fair to say that Scott Herman got quite agitated, fired up, and almost angry about a post from Dr. Schoenfeld.
What makes me so mad about this is there clearly are a lot of must-do exercises that you should be doing if you want to see results.
And I think it's really unfortunate that he's placed him in a video titled Insta Garbage. They take your money, time, gains, you get nothing.
It's almost like the type of audience he's trying to target is your like flyby gym goers that go sometimes and quit, sometimes and quit, sometimes and quit. And it's almost like he's catering to that audience in such a way where he's babying them.
Babying people or taking very complex ideas and condensing them into thought-provoking posts. I think it's actually a very decent post by Dr. Schoenfeld that promotes critical thinking. There are no must-do exercises for building muscle. Many viable options exist. Choose those that suit your needs, abilities, and personal preferences. And so prohibitions to certain exercises and the actual physiology are the two real main takeaways that Brad is trying to promote through this critical thinking. And so for the 180,000 people on Dr. Schoenfeld's Instagram, he's stating there are no must-do exercises for muscle growth for everyone reading that post. And I completely agree with him, and I think that's a very decent post, and I'm going to explain why. And don't worry, thinking is what I do best, I think. And so what I want you to think about with must-do exercises is the reason there are no must-do exercises is your individual characteristics and also the physiology of hypertrophy. At the very core of his statement is the physiological component of muscle growth. If you think about muscle fibers, the increase of sarcomeres in parallel, muscle hypertrophy and growth, your muscle is growing in response to tension and overload caused by this external resistance, scientific principles of muscle growth. And that's really, again, what Brad is talking about. That would be the overload of the muscle, that would be the mechanical tension, metabolic stress. As long as you have those variables in your training, you can grow muscle using a range of exercises. If you have chronic shoulder issues, is a barbell bench press a must-do for muscle growth? Most likely not. Do not confuse very good exercises with must do for everyone. I think that's the real issue that Scott's misunderstood in this post. The barbell bench press is a fantastic exercise, and it's one of the must do exercises that Scott tells his audience of 2 million people to do.
But in terms of building muscle and seeing growth, yeah, you know what? The bench, dumbbell bench, incline bench, flat bench, barbell bench, that exercise is a must-do exercise, and you should be focusing on that exercise, and you should be giving the barbell bench more attention than doing a cable.
It is a fantastic exercise, great bang for your buck, compound movement, multiple muscles, multiple joints, motor unit recruitment. Absolutely, it's a great exercise for muscle growth. But if you have chronic shoulder medical issues, and some people watching this will, then it's not a must-do. And this relates to your needs and abilities. And so again, what Brad's putting through this is there are a range of exercises you can use. And if you're focusing on these hypertrophy principles, repeated dynamic contractions, overload, intensity, challenging your muscle, then absolutely there are a range of exercises that you can use. You cannot say you must do something to a mass audience. You have to put the caveats and the variability, the multifactorial nature of exercise selection into your communication. Scott has also misunderstood the term no must do with don't challenge yourself or choose easy, comfortable exercises, which is not at all what Brad was saying.
And what you're actually doing is you're furthering that misinformation and saying, hey man, you don't have to go to the gym and do those exercises that you think are too difficult for you. You don't have to learn proper form. Just go sit down and do some bicep curls and you'll eventually see gains in like 100 years or so.
Brad is not saying don't challenge yourself, don't pick challenging exercises, don't pick compound exercises. He's just saying that you have a choice. Your exercise selection depends on your needs and your characteristics. I say that all over my channel. And indeed, I did make a positive video a few months ago, which was the first critique video I had seen Scott Herman make. It was almost like he got so frustrated and he burst and I wet myself in excitement. And my video is still up, so you can see that I was positively supporting him, but it has kind of got into the range of being a bit silly. I really do feel that.
This statement right here, this is the kind of statement that has an overweight person going to the gym and sitting down and doing dumbbell bicep curls with 10-pound weights because they feel comfortable doing that.
This is not what Brad was saying. This is a scenario that Scott has created, which he's extrapolated to giving these examples. And so Scott's reflection on why he made that video was that people sent it to him as it was not clear what Brad was saying. And I find this a peculiar rationale by Scott, because if the post was not clear to some of his members, then he should actually give the correct communication, which he hasn't. But in addition, the post can be substantiated in many ways if we just take a bit of time to look at it and think about it. All you have to do is go through Brad's page and it's full of information which would actually substantiate what he's saying. And here's one example where he talks about the importance of challenging your muscles in another post. Or you can go to his website and read his articles for more depth. Or you can actually read his research for more depth. In addition, next to the Instagram post, he has a description. He has paragraphs of more explanation. Ultimately, best results will come from finding the proper movements specific to your individual needs. This requires some experimentation, but over time you'll figure out what works best and what doesn't. Importantly, you must have a good understanding of applied anatomy, biomechanical concepts, and use the knowledge to employ combinations of exercises that work muscles in a manner that promotes their complete development. Within this context, your exercise options are vast, and so the source material in itself is completely fine. Unfortunately, Scott just misunderstands it and has miscommunicated it. And I've given the shoulder example for the bench press. You can relate this to many other issues. For example, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld talks about proportions. What if you have daddy long legs and short T-Rex arms? I'm sure all over this comment section there are going to be people who use different exercise variations of major movements for muscle growth, such as pulling and pushing, due to their specific limb lengths, proportions, and other unique characteristics. And then you also have intangible factors such as adherence. You can see how it's not a black and white area for everyone. There are many variables which influence your exercise selection. Of many people watching this video, many of you will do some of Scott's must-do exercises. Some of you should not do them due to your individual characteristics and needs, as I have discussed. And that's what's missing from Scott's interpretation. There are, however, must-do for the strength discipline of powerlifting. There literally are must-do exercises that powerlifters perform, but that's different to people who may just be wanting to grow muscle. I think it's very unfortunate and regrettable that Dr. Brad Schoenfeld has been placed in this insta-garbage classification with all these other donuts. The very important thing, and the reason I'm really making this video, is when we communicate information, it should not be set in stone. This is a must-do for everyone. It should be variable in nature how it's communicated. You cannot say you must do something to a mass audience. You have to put the caveats and the variability, the multifactorial nature of exercise selection into your communication. Apply to yourself.
The majority of exercises he shows is all cables. Cables are great, but there's a lot more work that comes with barbells and dumbbells in terms of just being stronger overall.
And so Brad showing cable work on his page, again, is not him saying this is the best exercise or anything along those lines. He's simply just posting with a cable exercise and an explanation, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Indeed, I think it's good that Brad does not give barbell tutorials because he's not a high-level technical lifting coach, and neither am I, and that's why I don't give barbell tutorials on my channel. Leave it to the people who are better at that. Dr. Brad Schoenfeld works and gives seminars in conjunction with barbell lifting experts such as Dr. Brett Contreras, who is considered the world's leading hip thrust expert. And one purpose of Brad's IG page is he promotes his seminars. And his seminars are where people will pay to attend to listen to his lectures, academic lectures, in-depth lectures on a range of topics. And indeed, I do have an Instavirus series of my own, but the people in my series, such as the Devons and the Devons of this world, their page is full of nonsense. Repeated posts, dozens of posts, repeated nonsense. And I think that's the mistake that Scott is making. Perhaps when he makes these videos, he has to be more conscious to separate someone like Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, who he may disagree with on a certain post, and many people in the fitness industry who are just spouting nonsense, lying and misleading people for personal gain. And putting Brad Schoenfeld in this category in this way is extremely unfortunate. So I'm James Linker, Shredder Sports Science. Thank you for watching. See you soon.